Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 9th day of August, 2023, Wednesday of the 18th week of the year, the 18th week in Ordinary Time. It's also today that we remember with sadness and some despair the bombing of Nagasaki during World War II. Again, something that advanced the end of World War II, but it also threw us into the atomic age, which is not always a good thing, especially in today's situations of things. So to remember with some sorrow this day as we move into it. Still in Maynooth, found out that's how you can pronounce it. Again, for the third day. Third day of the Societas Liturgica conference. Behind me is Castle Maynooth, the ruins of it. There's the keep that were the main residence right there, and then over to this side over here is the old gate tower, the entrance into the compound that was the castle. So the ruins here. Castle dates back to about the 1100s, and it is home to Clan Fitzgerald, so the Fitzgerald family, many of whom have emigrated to the United States. But going back at least the 1100s, if not before, again, a great defense in this part of Ireland, in this eastern part of Ireland. There, they did support the Tudors in the War of the Roses, and so they were able to claim this land and keep it as sort of a royal property during the time in which Ireland was under the United Kingdom. So it is there. It's right to the entrance. It stands right at the entrance over here to St. Patrick's College, again part of the University of Maynooth, where the conference is being held. Again, St. Patrick's College, founded in the late 1700s, 1785, 1795, when you could be respectable and be a Catholic in Great Britain, again, when Ireland was part of Great Britain. And so they did not have to go, priests did not have to go to France to study any longer. And by that time, France was not a place that was welcoming Catholics anyway because of the Revolution. And so the establishment of a Catholic seminary here in Ireland with the easing of restrictions against Catholics under William and Mary, or Queen Anne, I think it was, I forget which one, but allowed for the St. Patrick's College to be founded. But on this day, on the 18th, the Wednesday of the 18th week of the year, numbers continues and consternation ensues. A kind of it says it's a reconnoitering party goes into the Holy Land to see what it's like, and they bring back large amounts of fruit and say it's a place filled with milk and honey and stuff like that, and it's a wonderful place to live, but it's also filled with very warlike people and people who are very fierce, and it's not going to be easy to conquer this land or to enter into it. And so the Israelites basically say, well, we don't want to do this, and wailing and gnashing of teeth begins to happen, and all kinds of unhappiness, and again, it is God who gets angry and says, why is this people wailing against me? Yet they see what I've done. And again, if God is omnipotent and omniscient and knows everything and whatever it is, how does he not know that this is what was going to happen? So interesting questions to ask, especially with our ideas of God that have come down through the centuries, of who and what God is. But here it's a God who is constantly surprised at the fact that Israel is not happy, that Israel basically is complaining all the time about everything that they're experiencing and forgetting what it is that God has done for them. And so God basically becomes vindictive again, and now says that this generation, will not enter into the promised land. So for 40 years now they will wander the desert. So this is where the wandering in the desert for 40 years comes in. It was 40 days that they were in the desert to this point, but now they're going to be in it for 40 years until every generation that exists has died out, because God is so angry at them. And so, what could have been immediately now will take forever because of Israel's obstinance, and things like that. Again, not to trust that God knows what God is doing, and not to believe that God will be the one who says, you will enter into this promised land, and they would. So this very interesting kind of episode again in Numbers as Israel continues its movement into the promised land. In the gospel today, in Matthew's gospel, it is a Canaanite woman. In Mark's and Luke's gospel, it's a Syrophoenician woman. Either way, she is not a Jew, and she asks Jesus for help because her daughter is sick. Her daughter is dying, and Jesus is like, I'm not here for you. I'm only here for the Jews. And the woman responds again with, and he says the idea that it's not fit to give to the dogs what is good for the children. And the woman responds with, well, even the droppings from the table, fall to the dogs, and so can't I get something? Again, the woman who shows Jesus that his mission is to more than just the people of Israel. She educates Jesus. She helps Jesus to understand his mission a bit better, which again, if Jesus is omniscient and God and whatever it is, the fact that he has to learn something is a wonderful, expression of who and what it is that God has done in becoming one like us. And something for us to remember, something for us to think about. Again, in our whole idea sometimes of keeping God separate from us, we can jeopardize the fact that God is also one like us, and that we are one like God, made in God's image. And that makes things different for us as human beings and calls us to something that is greater than just our own pains and suffering, our own smallness of mind and smallness of heart. To remember, again, how God became like us so that we might become more like God is what it means to be a believer in the world, to be a person who lives their faith and shows their faith to this world in courage, in love, and in mercy. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.